In this episode today, I want to talk to you about storytelling. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. And as we covered in our last episode with Jake, the future of all marketing is going to be who is the best storyteller and who can tell an authentic story. When we started this podcast, our mission was clear. We wanted to help you tell better stories, connect with your customers and your audience, and amplify your message. Today, I'm going to break down everything I've learned from the past 10 episodes of this podcast, and I'm going to share with you 5 key storytelling ideas that you can use to tell better stories. All right, let's get into it. Number 1, the hook is the most important part of your message. You have to fight for the first 5 seconds. We live in a world flooded with content. Today, the average person sees 6,000 to 10,000 ads per day. David Ogilvy, the father of advertising, famously said, on average, 5 times as many people read the headline as the body copy. When you've written your headline, you have spent 80 cents of your dollar. Your hook, whether it's a headline, the opening line of a story, or the first frame of your video, needs to create tension, conflict, and open a curiosity gap. Here's a great example from an ex-Vox creator, Cleo Abraham. Start with a question that opens a curiosity gap, or dive right into the middle of a dramatic moment. And remember, your hook should provide immediate value. If you can deliver a compelling reason for your audience to stick around, they will. Number 2, there's no great story without conflict. One of the most powerful ways to connect with your audience is by sharing your why. Just as we covered in our last episode with Jake Carls, he and the Midday Squares have built their brand by sharing their authentic story, sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly. That is how you create an emotional connection with your audience. Your story needs conflict to give your audience a reason to care. Why does this work? Because people connect to stories, not a perfectly curated corporate image. They relate to your struggles, your setbacks, and your determination to overcome obstacles. So how can you apply this? Make it personal. Even if you're a B2B brand, show the human side of your story. When you share vulnerable moments, you make your story relatable and you build trust. There's no great story without conflict. Check out this video from the creators of South Park on why you need conflict for your story.
Each individual scene has to work as a kind of funny sketch. You don't want one scene that's just like, well, what was the point of that scene? We found out this really simple rule that maybe you guys have all heard before, but it took us a long time to learn it. But we can take these beats, which are basically the beats of your outline, and if the words "and then" belong between those beats, you're f***ed, basically. You got something pretty boring. What should happen between every beat that you've written down is either the word "therefore" or "but," right? So what I'm saying is that you come up with an idea and it's like, okay, this happens, right? And then this happens. No, it should be this happens, and therefore this happens. But this happens, therefore this happens. And that, as soon as we are able to, and literally sometimes we'll write it out to make sure we're doing it. We'll have our beats and we'll say, okay, this happened, but then this happens, and that affects this, and that does to that, and that's why you get a show that feels like, okay, this to that, to this to that, but this, here's the complication, to that. And there's so many scripts we read from new writers and things that we see.
God, I see movies.
And
you see movies that you're just watching. It's like this happened, and then this happens, and then this happens. That's when you're in a movie, just going, "What the f am I watching this movie for?" Just like this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. That's not a movie, you know. That's not a story. Like Trey said, it's those two, but because therefore, that gives you the causation between each beat, and that makes that. That's a story.
The next key point that you should apply to your stories is simplicity. Simplicity wins every single time when you're telling a story. What's the one clear message that you want to communicate? Pixar has earned billions of dollars at the box office from this one simple trick. Think about their biggest films. Toy Story is about toys who don't want to be forgotten. Finding Nemo is about a father searching for his son. Each story is built around a simple, universal theme. If your story is cluttered with too many ideas, your audience will feel lost. Simplicity creates clarity, and clarity creates impact. Ask yourself, what is the one clear message I want my audience to take away? What is the emotional feeling that I'm trying to tap into? A simple story told well is far more powerful than a complex one that's hard to follow. Show, don't tell. Visual storytelling can bring your story to life. In episode 6, we covered the legendary Japanese filmmaker Akira Kurosawa. Here's what he says about storytelling. With a good story, you don't need to explain it. You need to show it. Use motion. Think about how your story flows and how you can keep your audience engaged throughout. Use sensory details to create a vivid picture in your audience's mind. When you show rather than tell, you invite your audience to experience your story with you. The best stories take the audience on a journey of growth and change. Think about your story. What transformational outcome are you trying to take your audience through? Are you helping them overcome a challenge? Are you guiding them towards a solution? Are you inspiring them to take action or see the world differently? Remember, stories are ingrained in our DNA as human beings. Stories have been used to build cultures, communities, and nations, and now brands. When you tell a story that speaks transformation, you create a powerful connection with your audience. All right, let's recap the 5 key points. Number 1, the hook is everything. Capture attention in the first 5 seconds with conflict, tension, or curiosity. Number 2, there's no story without conflict. Share your struggles authentically to build trust and relatability. Number 3, simplicity wins every single time. Focus on one clear, powerful message. Show, don't tell. Use vivid details and visual storytelling to bring your story to life. And last off, stories are transformational. Take your audience on a journey of growth and change. The future belongs to the storyteller. Whether you're building a brand, launching a campaign, or simply trying to inspire your audience, your ability to tell a compelling story will determine your success. So go out there and tell your story.